Good evening. The Senate finally passed a $24.4 billion NASA budget with nearly all the science funding restored. So, what was all the fuss about? We're going to talk about that. The question everyone is asking is, should I invest in SpaceX? We got a few pundits that have their opinion. ESA commits to zero debris. If that's anything like zero carbon, well, we have some questions. York Space Systems wants to do an IPO for $544 million. A key Senate staffer has all been begging for proposals for commercial space stations as ISS disengagement looms. Hydrosat raises a $60 million Series B round. A company called Parsons acquires Altamira for $375 million for security-related stuff. Reviving Baikonur somehow is key to Russia's future space station pivot. And someone in New Mexico suggests that someone maybe use actual data and accountability to assess Spaceport America. What a concept. Why didn't they think of that 15 years ago? Plus, our guest on his way, Dr. Ajay Kothari. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. As you know, this program is hosted by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what does the Center for Space Commerce and Finance do? We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better, investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So remember, the center is a 501c3 nonprofit. So just go to our website, cscf.space/support, click the donate button, and drop something in the tip jar. Thanks so much for all your help. Now, Michael Lane is taking the night off for personal reasons tonight. But with me is our able, indispensable producer pitching in, Sean Key. Come on in, man.
Yep, I'm pulling double duty. I need a raise.
Did you get you getting double time tonight?
Yeah, I'm double. Yeah.
Hi, Morty.
I might be able to afford a cup of coffee.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know. Well, you're supposed to send an invoice, dude. I told you that.
Somebody forgot.
Yeah.
To have a discussion with you.
Jason, Tosh, Director, how are you, man? Glad to see you. We'll see who else shows up. So where you been? What's up with you? What are you doing? We don't get you on here very much. So talk about you for 30 seconds.
Well, I've just been, with the new year, I've been just doubling down, writing a lot,
Yeah. I see that. Yeah.
And I'm also, working on the show. And a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I'm working on.
Okay. All right.
But that's pretty much, how it is. You get tunnel vision, you got a project you're dealing with, and you have expectations and the directions you want to go. Plus, I'm helping out Michael with the Liftport group.
Right.
And so, I'm kind of like juggling 3 hats and trying to get my, get your direction going.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
You know that. And
yeah, I do the show, I do the center, I do on the alto. Absolutely. I'm just like, I thought I'd get a little break for the winter season. Oh no, I've been hammered since January 2nd. I'm just, I'm always behind on something. I'm not picking on Sean, Jason. No, I'm not picking on him. I'm trying to give the guy some support here. Come on, he's going to blow his horn a little bit. Okay, so we got some news, and hopefully our guest is going to be here. I know Dr. Ajay Kothari. He's been here before. He's a great guest.
Yeah.
He just got back from India after a long flight. Yes.
Yeah. I think so.
And so
I know he just got back. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but
Okay.
he should be feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he has a lot of incredible things to say about a lot of the stuff we do. Okay. Okay. Where we go? I guess he's here.
Yes.
Okay. Very, very good. Okay. So NASA spending bill. We finally got one. Senate passed it the other day. Here's my thing. I thought, okay, originally the original ask was 26 billion. They got 24.4. Most of this, and a lot of that was the science funding and a bunch of stuff that Trump wanted to take out. But now it's back, most of it at least.
Yeah.
They rebuked all the deep cuts, which is great. I think we were advocating for that anyway, and so good deal. I'm going to ask our guest about this later too. It's like, okay, now after all that dust is settled and all that argument is done, what did we actually buy? What are we getting the best bang for our buck for what we're getting? I think she should be getting a lot more money, but that's a separate argument. But they got it, and so they should be moving on soon. At least now, Jared Isaacman has something to work with.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's just a Band-Aid to carry us on until it transitions to his vision.
Yeah. I get it too, but he's still out there pitching multiple visions. And so, okay, now that the reality is here on his desk in the form of an actual budget, with line items.
And that's the hard thing to do is, when you have vision, that vision, how do you correlate that into an all-encompassing narrative for everybody to buy into?
Yeah.
And give you a direction. It's like a compass direction. How do you take all these, many entities are trying to do different things, and how do you make it coalesce into a, cohesive vision? And,
right.
And there's some really, people are invested in this deeply into their projects, and you finding that common ground is tough. I don't envy it, but we'll see if you can do it.
Well, yeah. We'll go from there. Obviously, the first one coming up, they're doing, I think, as early as, this is not in the links, but I read another report earlier. They're doing the, what do they call it? The wet dress rehearsal for Artemis 2 on February 2nd. That's their goal date. So less than 2 weeks from now.
Well,
so we'll see what that comes up with. I don't even know what a wet dress rehearsal is. I know what a plugs out test is. That's always done so well. Yeah. Okay. So next up, here's the thing. Some guy wrote a thing. He showed the opinion of a few people in the financial sector, and they just asked the big question. Well, after all this hype of the SpaceX IPO, they asked some people to weigh in, and so essentially, should I invest in SpaceX? And so some people were. I thought I saw one guy who's like really bullish about it, and everyone else was just either mildly critical or just mostly neutral about the whole thing, from what I'm reading on this.
My take is I don't give advice about whether you should invest or not, but I can tell you what SpaceX is.
Yeah.
It's a very vertical company that does things for SpaceX benefit. And all that launch capacity. And I wrote a piece about this. If you take out Starlink launches from the U.S. Launch logs from last year, we're less than China.
Yeah.
That's my issue. And we're counting it. We're counting those launches to put us ahead, but we're still less than China when you take out Starlink, which is for SpaceX and Starlink. It's not for the commercial space industry.
Right. Exactly. And that first guy, that chartered accountant and research analyst at ARK Invest, he said at the end that he thought SpaceX's core strengths are its 10-year advantage on the launch side and its multidimensional innovation platform.
Yeah.
all about the vertical. So they're a generational company now that can
Mhm.
produce foundational infrastructure for both global connectivity and AI compute, as well
Yeah.
as just standard, launching stuff
Yeah.
up there.
And that's one of my theses, is that we're going to have a bottleneck coming up with all this money coming in, and everybody wants to put stuff up in space. They're investing in downstream technologies, not upstream, and we need that capacity. We need to expand that capacity to handle the amount of payloads that are going up. If you don't do that, you're not going to lower the launch prices, because the demand's going to go up. So if there's anything I could say, that there's an opportunity there to look into if you're an investor. Go start digging down upstream instead of downstream.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Musk himself in June of last year estimated the company would have revenue of about $15.5 billion in 2025, and it's probably going to be higher this year. So, okay. Well, here's an interesting thing, and I think only finance geeks are going to get this. He said from 1980 to 2021, there's only been 13 companies that have gone public in the U.S. with a price to sales ratio valued at the offer price of more than 40, with at least 100 million in inflation adjusted annual sales. And so for those companies in history, the average stock price actually declined over the next 3 years, even while the market went up.
Because the market takes that long to adjust for something that massive.
Yep.
I mean, if you watch it adjust overnight, then the market's going to freak out.
Yeah. And so they have to, to prevent the stock price from going down over time, they have to rapidly grow revenue and profits, obviously, for a prolonged period, and that's hard to do. We'll see if SpaceX proves to be an exception. And the other folks here are kind of they're saying the standard platitudes, and they're kind of neutral about the whole thing. And so they're rooting for them, but they're not. I
mean, you should root for them. I'm not wanting somebody to fail. I want everybody to be successful. I know it's not possible,
right?
But if anybody's going to be successful, they have the highest chance of being successful, because they've done it for the longest. They're really what motivated the industry, because nobody thought it could be done. He built the team. I know people just don't count him, but I do, because he built the team and made the vision that brought this together and got it going. So, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely. Next up, I thought this was I mean, I think it's what they're doing is laudable, but looking at what Europe does in general on these things, I have to throw in a hint of skepticism, because ESA just came out with something called a zero debris charter. So basically, this sounds familiar. It sounds like the net zero carbon initiatives, which nobody thinks are actually going to happen in a reasonable amount of time. So now we're going to have net zero debris. Okay, well, but it's basically another top down kind of agency regulatory thing that we know works so well. And I think instead of trying to figure out how to give incentives to the private, the best, all the private providers for doing better, they say they're doing a systems approach, but then it still seems to be a top down kind of looking over your shoulder thing.
Well, part of the concept itself is zero debris charter.
Yeah,
it's just nice wording, but whenever I see something absolute like that, it gives me chills, because it's just impossible.
Yeah,
and then so if you're going to write that in there, either you don't know what you're talking about, because you would never use this, or you do know what you're talking about. You're going to use this anyway. I mean, it's just one of those things that bugs me to no end when you say zero. And so I know that it's going to cost an exponential lot of money just to get to that point. You get to a certain level, and then it exponentially grows more and more and more. And I just think this is more politics and more publicity stunt.
And it's also the cost of compliance. Since this is a government agency type of thing that they're doing, they want to become more independent in terms of their launch services and the other providers that they do. They're not gonna catch up with us, but but they want to have a little more independence in what they're doing, not be so dependent on us. Good for them. I like that. But by doing something like this, all you're doing is slowing down your own people to get the job done.
The ESA can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
And that's their bureaucracy is holding them back. And I mean, they're comprehensively, their plan, how they set themselves up. I do like how their framework is.
Yeah.
But they're so heavy in rules and regulations, it just makes it incredibly hard for those companies to get really any kind of leverage.
Yeah. Our buddy Joe is here, and he says that rather than I just said this, rather than setting rules that cost money, why don't they create incentives that reduce costs for good management of your spacecraft? Absolutely. That's what they should be doing, bottom up.
Yeah. Exactly. But how many politicians do that?
Well, none of them do, of course, because they'd be out of a job. Come on. God forbid we have a Department of Ending Poverty that actually ended poverty.
Exactly.
Then you'd all be out of business, and half the Senate would be gone.
But here's the secret: somebody's going to be in poverty. You got to have an endpoint somewhere. The bottom line.
Well, as somebody said earlier today, he says, "Well, you can't help everybody, but you can help somebody. And if and even you as an individual can probably find someone you can help and just make somebody's day one day." And so it's it comes down to that level. Helping, it becomes kind of a more of a community thing. It actually is better to keep communities together than having some top-down thing, and then people at the lower end stop caring. These government guys.
And every community has their own way of doing things, and you coming in heavy-handed. Not my favorite.
Yep. Oh, and Joe Pastrito had a good comment too. Says Elon is IPOing because he thinks data centers are the killer space app. We've talked about this. We'll be talking about it a lot more. If he's right, that's a whole new revenue stream. So that's absolutely possible. So Joe, are you going to buy some shares? Are you going to on IPO day? Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Joe, if I were you, I would go back and check one of our episodes with Philip Johnston. That was a very good episode about data centers. And and the one before that was our New Year's special with Your Surprise, Dr. Schuber, Ali.
Schuber,
yeah. And so you'll get a good balance between what can be done and, of course, why it can't be done. So that way you can.
Well, there were some revelations in that show too. There were, because we all thought it was going to be a big deal and putting all this stuff together. No, it's modular. It's over time, of course.
Joe said he already owns SpaceX stock.
Yep. Well, this show is the intersection of space and money, so I had to throw some money in here. Policy is good, but money's better. There's a defense firm called York Space Systems that are going to do an IPO, and they're seeking $544 million. They're a space and defense firm, and they're backed by AE Industrial Partners, which is huge. And they're offering 16 million shares for 30 to 34 each, according to the SEC filing last Friday. That would give them a market value of about $4.25 billion based on the outstanding shares. So it's expected to price out on the 28th, which is only 9 days from today. And so another listing. Here we go. Another.
That goes on our record keeping. We're keeping score here, folks.
Yeah, we are.
So we'll have it tallied up at the end of the year. So stick around. So as we roll these out. But from what I was reading about this is more like they actually had, let me read my notes here. I did them real quick before you came on. York Space. They reported revenue growth for roughly 59% year over year, though they're still operating at a net loss.
Yeah.
The IPO aims to capitalize on heightened investor interest in space and defense technologies.
Yeah.
A tongue tied. So they're hoping that this will get them out in the win loss column and in the more in the win win column.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And for the record, Joe Pistrito says he already owns SpaceX stock. So good for you. Got in there in advance, got in early, and got in often. I hope that goes well for you.
Coffee's on Joe.
Yep. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, well, we got this. Oh, wow. So we got someone named Matty Davis. He's a space policy staff member for Senator Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And they had a virtual event with the Texas Space Coalition, and they said basically an extension of the ISS is on the table, but that NASA needs to accelerate a program to replace that aging station with commercial alternatives, because basically Cruz has reaffirmed one of his core priorities is establishing a continuous human presence in Earth orbit, no matter what, with no gap in that capability. So he wants commercial space stations operational before ISS is deorbited, which is now scheduled for 2030, of course. And it says, Davis says, he's very painfully clear. It comes up almost every time I see him. Continuous human presence and no gap. So.
Well, I guess that's the mantra then.
I guess RFPs are going to be coming real soon.
I just wonder if this was part of the reason why the budget was put back together for NASA.
Yep. And all goes, of course, in the commercial LEO destinations for CLDs. So they're providing funding to right now, and they're going to enter phase 2, in which those and other companies will compete for larger amounts of funding, maybe, and 1 or 2 companies are likely to win those larger contracts.
Oh, folks, we just lost. He'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and set this up here. So let me do this. And I'm going to go ahead and bring on Dr. AJ Kothari, since Tom has accidentally been disconnected. He's troubleshooting on his end, so he should be back any minute now. So, Dr. Kothari, I'm going to bring you on out, and we can just go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh, hold on. Let me bring Thomas on first.
I'll keep talking because I'm never there. So, never mind. Never mind.
That's all right. I had to pivot.
I went to empty air because, see, I don't always see that when it drops out at first. I'll have the actual web page in front of me.
Right.
And so this page we're on now is like it's behind that.
Right.
So I just stare in the camera and pretend I'm there. And then I'll disappear and won't even know until I go back and say, wait a minute, there's something wrong over here. Oh, God. You know.
I don't know what's going on, for whatever reason. It mostly happens to you. I've seen it only happen to.
I guess the universe was telling me, your blathering wasn't that important. So we'll just move on. Another company I haven't really heard of, a company called Hydrosat, a thermal imagery startup focused on water resource management, just raised $60 million in Series B funding from equity investors and sovereign wealth funds. So another number in the space funding community, and they're underscoring the sustained growth. I'm not really seeing they're going to. Well, it's for expansion plans, and so I'm looking and seeing anything I see about their spacecraft and all the stuff they're doing and anything. I'm not seeing any numbers as okay. We're doing this stuff now, and we've launched spacecraft. Are we making any money? And I'm not that part. I'm not seeing here.
I don't know. We know somebody that can was doing the same thing.
Yeah,
and politics got in the way of that.
Okay, I have 3 more things to do, but I think I'm just going to do this last one, and then we'll go to our guest. How about that? A company I haven't really heard much of called Parsons bought another company that I've heard of a little bit for $375 million to expand their space and intelligence portfolio. Parsons, that's why I don't see of them much. They're a defense and intelligence contractor.
Right.
But, we don't pay a lot of attention to those. But I've heard of Altamira. They do SIGINT and missile warning and things like that, and they do other stuff too. I know I've heard of them for a lot of things, but they're being acquired by Parsons.
Yeah,
And I guess that adds to their footprint in the space and defense sectors. Obviously, they've got, in those sectors, you don't acquire something unless you're acquiring a specific thing that you yourself don't know how to do.
the signal intelligence is what they just acquired.
That's what they bought.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was in the Army, I was human intelligence, but in our battalion we also had CID, which is counterintelligence, and then you had the signal intelligence, the guys that were capturing signals, and the interpreters who would translate them. I went out on the ground and visually got intelligence and reported it back.
Okay. All right. And on that, let us bring in, and in light of the new NASA budget as well, our returning guest tonight is the president of Astrox Corporation, Dr. Ajay Kothari. Just got back from India and did a big presentation there. And let's bring him on.
There we go.
Oh, there he is. Dr. Kothari, welcome back. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Salute.
Salute you, sir. How you doing? It's good.
I'm doing fine, except that it took me 40 hours to get here from India to United States.
What?
So, and still I don't have any kind of a jet lag, So,
really?
It's good. You're
still 14 hours away.
You're eating well, I guess. But
they canceled the flight, and then I had to, stay at JFK for 11, 12 hours, just sleep on the chairs there, all kinds of things like that. It was Virgin Atlantic, etc. But anyway, so forget that. And, I'm fine. And first of all, what I want to say is just really thank you and really appreciate what you guys do, all of you. It's just really amazing to learn about all the things that have taken place in a week before that, and a few days and stuff. It's amazing what you do, and I really am thankful to Sean and Tom and Michael for all of these what you do. And so
we lost Tom again.
Yeah.
So he'll be back in a few minutes, but we'll go ahead and move along. But I'm glad 40 hours to come to do an interview. That's but once you now you told us before in the past about how you came to the industry, and but what we were like, excuse me, I'm trying to do multiple things at the same time here, and I'm not good at it.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, I think that you are good at it. Actually, there we go. You are doing the right thing, and I'll get to this in a minute.
All right, there we go.
But I'm going to say that I'm going to say some controversial things today.
Good.
And I hope that something goes through the minds of the people, and etc. So those kinds of things. So what happened is that I gave a talk at there was an international conference on space, sustainability of our energy in space, and I spoke on paradigm shift for exploring the space solar system. Actually, that we should be doing, and I'm going to go through a few slides of that in a minute. I also have written an op-ed that'll probably be published, that's connected to this, but not exactly that, which is that that one of the things that the Commercial and Science Committee of Senate missed is, and they didn't have this, and this is really, really bad that they missed it, is that we need to have infrastructure on the moon as soon as possible. And what is more important is not just simply landing people on the moon that they've been talking about with SLS and all kinds of things like that, but putting a lot of cargo infrastructure on the moon cheaply. SLS cannot do that, will not be able to really do it cheaply. And so I have a way to do that, which I will probably talk about if there is time. Uh, but that is one thing, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about also is that you discussed about this NASA's budget and the science budget and all that, and I wrote an op-ed which in Space Review in August of last year, saying that science at NASA is very why science at NASA is very important, and I think I mentioned this to you before, so I will just say it in a sentence or two, which is that you know Fermi paradox or Drake equation, etc. If you look at all of those kinds of things, it's extremely important that we as human beings um, take charge of our all the life forms on this planet. And I mean, we talk about climate change and all that kind of thing, but this thing about we may be very unique according to Fermi paradox. If that is so, we have an immense responsibility to guide all those life forms, including crocodiles and roaches and everybody, because they are extremely unique DNA
Yeah.
that we have to take care of. We have to preserve. Let's say. So whether Fermi paradox means that it probably does mean that we are alone in this um, you know nearby universe. Let's say 100 light years away, up to 100 light years away, which we can see. It's very important, and that's what science at NASA does. And the science at NASA, for that reason, is extremely important, not just for NASA, but the entire world has to do that. And that really requires that if we want to take care of all these life forms, and I'm talking like a liberal person right now, although I may be a mix of both.
Ah,
But we have to take care of all of that, and that means that the other people on this planet, the authors and artists, and you can see some of my art behind me,
mhm.
so all of that, they all have to participate in this. It's they are also part of this thing, and that we can that is how we should be selling, bad word, but but this is how we should be selling the idea of exploration. That is the exploration that is moving us in evolution in the third dimension,
Yep.
the space, obviously.
Sure.
But I'm not talking about just taking all the life forms to other planets and all that kind of
Right.
thing. I'm
Well,
talking
I think
about.
what I'm hearing here is you've got a little spiritual element to it too, because
Yes, so,
we have a higher consciousness,
yeah,
and we're while we're not unique in the universe, we
yes,
can't be. But as you said, and I'm very familiar with the Fermi paradox. I
yeah,
think about that all the time. I
yeah,
think you probably think this too, that a lot of civilizations have this test, this filter that they need to get through before they can qualify themselves to actually go out beyond their own stellar system and become an interstellar civilization. And I think most of them fail the test. And so,
yeah,
if we make it somehow and we get out there, what we're going to find mostly when we get there, we're going to find wreckage. This is going to be,
no,
the galaxy is going to be an archaeologist's paradise.
yeah. Our galaxy, you mean? Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if we'll ever be able to go to another galaxy. I don't think so.
No,
But
no, no,
but
not any
mentally
reasonable.
we can, and
Yeah.
that is extremely important to us as human beings, because we have this responsibility to do that. So it's for all that kind of reasoning, I'm very glad that science budget and everything has been more or less restored, and
Yeah.
I hope that they continue, and I hope that um, Senator Cruz and other people also take that on enough
Hmm.
that we can, and not ignore that. And
Yeah.
so I hope that happens.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So
Now, of course, the funding, they all want it for that means the funding for Artemis is restored as well, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so, just for a second, I want to bring that up because that leads into your other thesis, which is look, they're going to be spending all this money to launch Artemis 2 in a couple of months.
Yes.
And then a year or so later, they'll do Artemis 3,
Yeah.
which was supposed to be the landing. I don't know. They might do an Artemis 4 if they have the money for it, to do at least twice so they could say they did it. I would imagine you agree with this. Is a time we kind of let Artemis go at that point and start going for some more cost effective and efficient solutions. And what solutions would you recommend?
Yeah.
Sir?
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not in agreement with just using SLS or even Starship. I don't think that Starship is going to be workable enough and reliable enough for us to be able to get to the moon fast enough. So I'm not. I'm very, very positive about Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, but of SpaceX. But I'm not at all positive about Starship. Excuse me for saying that. And that it's going to be, quite reliably successful. Let's say. Let me put it that way. So my thesis or idea is to actually, I've written about this and published something about using Falcon Heavy for humans to moon, etc. But now today I want to talk about cargo, and today I want to talk about cargo to the moon and also paradigm shift in the way that we are doing. I think we are doing it wrong, really, so to speak. I mean, sorry to be blunt. What we should be doing, and this is where we bring in my PowerPoint, if you can, please. First slide.
Okay. Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
I don't. If it's coming up on your screen, you might have to send it to me. And are you going to change it on yours? Okay.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah. So this is the presentation I gave to this International Energy Technology Workshop in India just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And what I'm suggesting here is that we need to change the paradigm for space exploration, at least for solar system. I'm talking about solar system here only, not necessarily afterwards. But we have long way to go beyond that, and science directorate will take care of the other things. Multiple exit ramps for solar system destination. So that's what I'm talking about here. You can see here, basically the idea that I have is that you instead of building SLS and Starship and all those kinds of things. Let's go to the next slide, which will describe that a little bit. Can you do that, or I have to do that?
You have to do that.
I have to do that, right? Yeah. Okay.
Our fans in the chat room are having fun. So shout out to Morty and Jason.
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Can you see that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the question is, are we at a point where those multiple flights needed are not too large in numbers, say up to less than 10? So the idea is this, that you have something called Falcon Heavy, you have New Glenn, and if you fly and dock the upper stage, no refueling, just dock the upper stage in LEO. Let's say you have two flights. First one takes the payload to LEO. Now, obviously, Falcon Heavy doesn't have enough TLI, enough possibility of TLI, LOI on the moon, and also landing on the moon. It doesn't have that. But what if we combine the upper stages in LEO, just dock them, don't have any refueling, no fuel transfer, etc. Just dock them. It's much easier because we have been doing it since 1966. And of course, we have been doing it with the ISS also much easier than refueling, and especially refueling of all these cryogenic fuels, etc. So what if we were to just simply do that? Now the question uh, is it possible for us to increase the propellant fraction enough for that payload that we put up in the first flight to have the enough propellant fraction to get to the moon and LOI, TLI, LOI, etc. So that is this. Are we at a point where those multiple flights needed are not too large in number, say up to less than 10, maybe even less than 5 for a reasonable payload? And we are at this point in time. As you know, even Starship is going to require 10 to 20 refuelings. I'm not even talking about refueling. I'm talking about something much simpler, and that we can do with less than 10. And the answer is yes. So do we have a reusable boosters available that can drastically reduce the cost? This is absolutely necessary to be able to do this, 5 flights or 4 flights or 3 flights, that they don't cost. So reusable booster, the first stage, is the crux of this whole entire thing. It doesn't really, it doesn't really matter. The upper stage doesn't matter. Upper stage has to have, as I write here, that the dry weight has to be low enough to reduce the TLI, TMI meaning mass insertion, LOI, MOI landing. Yes, we have that, but we don't have that in Starship. Starship upper stage weighs almost 85 to 100 tons, which is the reason why it's requiring so many refuelings. Unless they redesign the upper stage to like 1/3 the size or something like that, when they can become comparative, we don't have any possibility. But the upper stage of Falcon Heavy has that. It is only like 4.5 to 6 ton dry weight. That is really quite a change, and quite a, it opens up lots of possibility, quite a few. It's the same thing with New Glenn. New Glenn's upper stage is about. I designed the New Glenn's upper stage in my code that we have called Spaceside. So I will show a picture of that. But that is 10 to 12 ton. So that also has the possibility. Starship doesn't. Sorry. So now, are we now in a sweet spot to enable it while reducing the cost also? And that's a yes too. Should we take advantage of this unique opportunity before other countries do? Yes. We are not doing this. Other countries, I'm sure, are going to do this. India has already announced that they are going to do it this way, but with their expendable vehicles, which are cheaper, but that's also a mistake. But I think we have the possibility of going to the next step. I'm going to move to the next slide. Mm, okay. Well, China threat. I'm not going to go through this again. I mean,
Yeah, we all know it.
Yeah, we know that one pretty well.
Yeah. A new directive from the administration also, cost effectiveness of launch and exploration architecture. Not going to go through this anymore. Moon, we know the ice, etc. Urgency and all that is there. So I feel that if we want to do this in a manner in which we have to have hundreds of people living there, which is what I really am for. That we have to have infrastructure that they can use, including the nuclear reactor that NASA has launched. So what I have done is to calculate the propellant fraction required, PF required for Moon. Let's just look at the Moon for now. The total delta V required is about 6,000. And RP locks and LH2 locks and CH4 methyl locks, they all give me for all this delta V, it gives me certain propellant fraction. Now the idea is here now is to take the first stage with payload to Leo, and the second time the Falcon Heavy goes up. I'm talking about Falcon Heavy for now. For now, the second time Falcon Heavy goes up, it'll be Falcon Heavy has three options. Obviously, one is partially reusable, which is what I'm using here. Another one is totally expendable, which I'm not in favor of. And the third is fully reusable FR, which does not take too much payload to Leo. And so the payloads for option one is 64 ton to Leo. The other one that I'm using is 54 ton to Leo. And the third one is too small, at 38, 37, 38 ton Leo. So what I'm doing here is that if I have 54 ton in Leo already in the first flight, the second flight upper stage will have that much extra fuel.
Okay.
So if I have then if since my dry weight is so small, let me not go to this. This is the Falcon 9 upper stage that I designed, and then here is the idea here. So if I have two upper stages of Falcon Heavy docked in Leo after two flights of Falcon Heavy over say 2 days, I can do it in 2 days. Then Falcon Heavy payload, like I said, PR is 54 ton. So all of them together will give me TLI plus LOI plus landing combination, and that is approximately. I'm using the dry weight because I'm going to refurbish the upper stage a little bit, and it'll be 6 ton each. In that case, I am able to get to the moon with this two flights for that much payload that I have. So
Dr. Kothari, could you hold up a second? Jason has a question he wants to ask.
sure.
And it is the fuel retro linear orbit or moon transfer or EML1? And then you had actually a two-part question. So that was this one here. I don't know if you can see it on your screens.
Is that fuel rectilinear orbit on moon transfer or EMLI? It is not to NRHO, which is the rectilinear orbit that he's talking about.
Okay.
The fuel is to go directly to LLO, which is low lunar orbit. No transfer or
Okay.
yeah. So I hope that answers. So
yeah, it kind of answers the other question that he had.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so
Can you back up?
something it got lost. What happened to my slides? I'll have to share that again.
Well, once you get your slide back, I do have a question. So
yeah, you go ahead and ask. I'm
okay. Because I'm looking at all these things, and they all agree. They look like a great idea. I think you've got everything worked out with the numbers and the propellant. You know how to throw mass out there without a lot of expenditure and actually start building stuff. One of your images just showed kind of a generic looking. There's kind of a takeoff on the limb on top of it. I was like, yeah, we'll put the lander here. So you need a lander, obviously. So what you're going to is, I guess my question is, are you kind of platform agnostic with regards to a lander, or do you have a kind of lander design you prefer, or are you working on one yourself, or you take one from Blue Origin because, as you say, Starship's not going to be ready. So what's the reality?
Yeah, the reality. I mean, here I'm talking about the paradigm shift in sending these things to Moon or Mars or something, where upper stages are combined together, and then whether it's something with a lander, or it is something just simply cargo. So
Mhm.
cargo is what I'm really interested in talking about in this on this slide in this talk. I didn't really talk about cargo, but that is the other uh, document. I mean, doc file that I sent to you.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
where I
well,
can, you know.
cargo needs to be slowed down so it doesn't do an extreme impact on the lunar surface. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you got to have something
yeah. No,
to bring
yeah,
that down with.
yeah.
My goodness, Tom, you know you're supposed to build more durable stuff that can survive that.
I can survive an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Well,
as
see, because and the reason I have this question is
yeah,
because already right now our current system using Artemis is technically, since there's still a lot on the table with regard to the lander, we don't know what it's going to be. The whole thing's a faith-based initiative until we actually see a working lander, and
yeah.
we're in
Well,
a
yeah.
race,
Hmm.
and I'm getting a little nervous about that.
Well, yeah. In this case, of course, I'm using the upper stages of Falcon Heavy or Falcon 9 for landing,
Okay,
actually.
okay,
So
okay,
those are the ones that go and land slowly, obviously, on the moon, so you don't, have a crash landing. But it really is this particular thing that I'm talking about here requires a lander.
okay,
Requires a lander that we had long time ago. But I'm not really um, focusing on that human transfer right now. I'm focusing really only on, so I don't require a lander per se development for cargo. So I'm talking really about cargo for now, and I have um, the let's see. I would have to share another thing here. So I'm going to try to do that, and then we'll get back to this afterwards. So I'm going to stop sharing this one and share something else.
Well,
Um,
we're wrapping up time here, so we're gonna have to speed it up just a
oh,
tad bit.
that's right. Yeah. Okay. Um,
I don't mean to
so
put you on the spot.
that's all right. Um, so my idea here is this one here. That what I have. Can you see this?
I'm
I'm not
pulling it up
seeing.
right now.
No, we're
Hold
not
on.
seeing anything right now.
Hold on. It should be coming up. There we
Oh, here
go.
we go. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be impossible to read, but what's the gist?
The gist. Yeah. So the gist is that if you are doing with cargo, I can take 20 ton, 15 ton of cargo to the lunar surface using Falcon Heavy, 4 flights of Falcon Heavy. I can take 15 ton of to land on the lunar surface. This is something we can do now. We can do
Hmm.
it now, meaning, in a year or two. And that is really necessary. This is not being addressed. This has not been addressed, and that is a weak point of the Commerce Committee, and it may be a weak point for our plan
Hmm.
to. We don't want to just beat China to the moon by another flag waving type of a thing. We need to beat them to the moon to establish permanent presence or establish infrastructure. That requires cargo, and that cargo is not just simply a nuclear reactor, but it requires many other things, including places to live on, stay in, and other things, and of course the reactor for providing energy. But all of them are going to require cargo to the tune of 50 ton or 100 ton. If we want to really, really uh, um, not I wouldn't use the word beat China, but we want to really do something which is substantial enough that we remain ahead. And it is not just simply bringing people to the moon again, which is what I was discussing earlier, but the cargo, just the cargo. And that
Hmm.
the cost saving here, as you can see, is if the 4 flights of Falcon Heavy will cost 120 million each. So 480 million total for the PR option. But if SL is used via NRHO, which is even more complicated, It's 2 billion each, and in if it's a two flights, it's a total of 4 billion. So you can see the savings is almost like 85% or 80%.
That's pretty amazing.
That is
So
amazing.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing it? I don't know.
no,
Yeah.
well, so we got a quick question. This is something we do of all our guests. It's like,
Oh yeah, okay.
you know, 5 years from now, where do you see, if maybe you can give us a range of a scenario, if we
Yeah.
follow what you say in 5 years, what's that going to look like? If we don't follow what you see, what's that window there that margins we're operating in?
Yeah. So 5 years from now, if we are uh, able to do it this way, I would see maybe 10 people living there, 20 people living there for 2 months, 3 months at a time, and coming back, etc. If you get the human side of it also, but at least I see cargo landing on the um, the south pole of lunar surface, and then we can take it from there. We can start building things there with energy and with other things. That's what I see happening. If we don't do this way, which is, then I'm not sure if we will see anything in 5 years. I'm not too optimistic about Starship being able to do this, because of the refueling is just going to be there no matter what, even if they are successful. And another problem is that they have a very high fineness ratio to land on a slopey kind of a surface. Its fineness ratio is like 5.5 to 6, and here we are talking about something like less than 2. So all of that makes it more palatable, safer, and is something that we absolutely need to do to be on the moon and to have permanent presence on the moon. That's 5 years.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is that even though Elon might be a little bit upset at not having Starship in the mix for the
Yeah,
next 5 years, he's still selling as many Falcons and Falcon 9s as he can build
yeah,
during that period. So he's not like he's going to go hungry,
no, that-
during all that time
yeah, yeah,
until we get Starship up to speed, and we'll save that for Mars, because
yeah,
that's really
yeah,
what it's built to do.
yeah. That's
I
right.
think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, I would
Before
agree with
we
that.
wrap this up, one of our new guests here, Renee, she asked a question. How many
Mhm.
tons did you say earlier for
There we go.
the
Yeah.
lunar surface with margins and what the new hardware needs built? You mentioned it.
How
Was it
many
like
tons did
17?
you say to load? 15 tons for 4 flights of Falcon Heavy. 15 tons to the lunar surface. And of course, this is cargo, so it doesn't
Yeah,
need to come up back up.
right. Cool. And one other question we have is, which is
Yeah.
what we ask our guests is, where do you see the commercial space industry in 25 years?
I mean, I'm fairly optimistic about that. I mean, commercial space industry, if we start landing on the moon, building infrastructure on the moon, etc., space industry will be quite excited about that, and will be participating in various different endeavors there, which is building. I would say building roads, with Falcon. I mean, with regolith there, with using energy from nuclear reactors, and all of those kinds of things.
Okay. Well, I think it's important that plans like this need to be seen and distributed and advertised to everybody, anybody who can make these decisions. I
Yeah.
think at the very minimum, Jared Isaacman needs to look at this
Yes, right,
for
exactly.
10 minutes. I'm sure he's a bright enough guy. He'll figure it out in 10 minutes, and
Yeah,
then say, okay, how do we get from here to there?
right.
Because in terms of the next 5 years, I mean, we can make it with Artemis. We're just not going to get very far. The real race is actually settlement, is actually setting up bases
That's
and
right.
doing some prospecting and start bringing back materials and getting a lot of people there and doing other things. We're not going to do that with Artemis. You've proven that beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt. We
Yeah,
have what it takes to do so much better.
so much
And so
better.
the next 5 years could look really busy and really prosperous, or it could look a little barren. Yeah, we did a couple more flags and footprints missions, but we haven't done much else since.
Yeah, we haven't done
And
much.
that's why, we don't want to give the advantage to our adversary.
Exactly.
So I'm
Absolutely.
so glad I can have you on here to discuss this, because I think it's a very, very important thing. And I think you're one of the visionaries and thought leaders in all this. And so we're going to be promoting you as much as we possibly can, with our resources for this program.
Thank you very much. I mean, I hope that I'm local in Washington D.C., so I'll be able to walk to NASA headquarters.
You know what? I'm gonna let's get together. I'm gonna be there in late March. I'm gonna be there for the satellite conference.
I
always go every
I
year.
would
My
love to
boss
do that.
insists.
I would love to do that, Tom.
Yep.
And I think David Livingston, Dr. Space, has told me a lot
Yeah,
about
yeah.
you. So
Yep.
I would love to meet you.
We'll do a lunch or a dinner or something. Absolutely.
I have been talking with JD Vance's team a little bit.
Okay.
And I've also been talking. We are going to be having a meeting at White House, not on this subject, but some other subject where this will come up.
Okay.
On February 25th.
Great.
So,
Great. All right. Thank you so much,
thank
Dr.
you. I
Kothari.
appreciate very much, and I have no jet lag. So
Good for you.
And you are helping me to get rid of jet lag, like with this excitement.
Well, I appreciate that so much. All your kind words. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll have you on again very soon, and we'll see you soon. I'll see you in DC in a March.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll solve the world's problems.
Yes.
Together. Okay.
Except Greenland. Except Greenland.
Yep.
Well, you had to get that one in.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good shot. Parting shot. Okay, so our guest Thursday will be the Executive Director of the Space Frontier Foundation, Sean Mahoney. We're going to be talking a lot about some new policy initiatives that they're working on, and maybe a rather important conference I think they're helping to host. And we'll get some new info about all that. And as usual, it's always 8 p.m. Eastern from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. For Sean Key, I'm Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.